Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 based on novel. So let's start. Hu Yuhao laughed sarcastically and replied, "Do I have a choice? Whatever you say is final. You're right. I admit that I don't want to die. However, will you trust me if I surrender so easily?" The lady laughed coldly and said, "I can confirm that this is very simple. I'll start with understanding who you are." At this moment, an object flew towards Hu Yuhao. He didn't move as it was flung at him, and it landed 3 meters away from him. Bang! It was a pair of dark gold manacles. There was a ring of sharp teeth pointing inwards within the manacles. Those are called God-restricting manacles. When you put it on, it will restrict your soul power. We can start talking properly then, the lady said in a very relaxed manner. Hu Yuhao stood there and hesitated for a moment. He revealed a slightly hesitant look in his eyes. "If I put these manacles on, will you really not kill me?" The lady calmly replied, "I already mentioned that you have no choice. You can only believe me. Moreover, do you think you'd still be alive if I wanted to kill you? Put them on. My words are final." She was both threatening and convincing him. Her tone of voice also sounded very reassuring. Hu Yuhao stood where he was, his expression changing. That lady didn't force him any further. She only maintained her silence as she waited for his response. After a while, Hu Yuhao let out a long sigh and slowly walked towards those manacles. He was walking very slowly. As he moved, the soul tools that were locked onto him also slowly moved. The lady smiled and said, "You're clever. Just like that, walk slowly. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that my men won't accidentally discharge their soul tools." Hu Yuhao was indeed very slow. He didn't want to move too quickly. There was a look of helplessness and dejection in his eyes. Finally, he arrived in front of the manacles. He slowly bent at the waist over and moved to put the manacles on. "Just put them on directly." Hu Yuhao asked. "Yes, both hands." The lady said very patiently. "All right, I concede defeat." Hu Yuhao sighed once more and used the God-restricting manacles to cuff himself. All the soul tools were still locked onto him. However, Hu Yuhao's spiritual power was very sensitive. When he moved to put on the manacles, he immediately sensed that all the soul engineers relaxed slightly. They didn't make a mistake. This was a normal human reaction. Any human would react like that under such a circumstance, especially in this icy place. However, Hu Yuhao made his move just as they reacted. The God-restricting manacles were getting closer and closer to his wrists. To a normal person, this happened in just an instant. However, Hu Yuhao was able to delay this instant through his spiritual power. The manacles were less than an inch away from his left wrist. At this moment, Hu Yuhao could sense the power of the manacles. He immediately made his judgment once he was cuffed. One of the cuffs was already enough to restrict him completely. He didn't need to be cuffed on both hands. At the last inch, Hu Yuhao suddenly moved. Lights flashed without any warning. Hu Yuhao instantly switched positions. An old lady, who was around 70, was standing where he was now. She appeared very confused. This sudden change caused all of the soul engineers to be shocked. This was because they had clearly locked onto Hu Yuhao earlier. However, he had disappeared now and caused their lock-on to vanish too. Many of the soul engineers suddenly fired as they couldn't control themselves. However, their attacks were blocked by a layer of light that rose from the old lady's body. "This is not good, Commander," the old lady shouted. The surrounding soul engineers were all in a state of panic. This was because they could recognize that the old lady was the Vice Legion commander of the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion. She was a Class 9 Soul Engineer. The original strict formation changed. Following this, an anxious voice sounded. I'm fine. Catch him. He's fake. The old lady revealed a slight smile on her face. Had he finally appeared? Lights flashed again before that old lady disappeared. She was replaced by a tall, big lady who was around 40 years old. Yes, that old lady earlier was still Hui Yuhao. He had used his spiritual interference to isolate all Loco NS before using his imitation to change his appearance. He had no choice. He still hadn't managed to trace the original source of the voice using his spiritual power earlier. However, he still managed to discover the Class 9 Soul Engineer who could threaten him the most using his spiritual detection. How could he stop the enemy from attacking him even after discovering him? Choosing to adopt the appearance of this Soul Engineer was evidently the wisest choice. This was why Hui Yuhao did this. He only had one motive, draw the Legion commander out from her hiding place. It was a fact that even the most intelligent hunters could make mistakes when panicking. The reason why that lady's voice couldn't be traced by Hui Yuhao earlier was because her emotions didn't change at all. Using a displacement soul tool, she had managed to conceal herself. Right now, her emotions changed as she panicked. Naturally, Hui Yuhao's spiritual detection managed to capture her detailed position. Following this, he used his Xuanwu displacement. Every time Hui Yuhao used his spiritual inscription, he would return to find Shu Sancha to reinscribe it once again. He promoted it from the mysterious underworld displacement to the Xuanwu displacement. It was a life-saving change. The Xuanwu displacement had saved Hui Yuhao on many critical occasions. This was why he always reinscribed this soul skill. Whether it was control or attack, he had great self-confidence. While his surveillance was good, his greatest shortcoming was in terms of how well he could escape. The Xuanwu displacement was undoubtedly the best soul skill to use to escape. The Xuanwu displacement could teleport Hui Yuhao a greater distance than his instant teleportation. Furthermore, there would be a substitute in his place, which made it even more confusing. When used in tandem with his instant teleportation, it could bring about unexpected results. Right now, Hui Yuhao made a life-saving displacement. Through his spiritual detection earlier, he was clearly aware that the enemy's words were right. He was heavily trapped. It was impossible for him to charge out. A bunch of soul engineers had surrounded him, and linked defensive soul tools were ready to be fired. Even an ultimate Dolor might not be able to force his way out. It was only by killing and reducing the number of people that he might possibly stand a chance of escape. Hui Yuhao's abilities were still a far ways off from those of an ultimate Dolor. This was why he only had one chance. He had to capture the leader of the enemy and use her as a hostage to stand a chance of survival. Force him to surrender. In his dictionary, there was no such word. As Hui Yuhao heard exclamations, he had already unleashed his Xuanwu displacement. Suddenly, he appeared behind a lady wearing red armor. He was trying to displace this person's bodyguard. From the voice of this person and her attire, he had already determined earlier that she was the marshal who had been speaking earlier. Whether she was the true marshal or not, she had to hold an important position in the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion. After displacing himself behind this lady, he continued to maintain the appearance of the old lady. All the Soul Engineers around were astonished, but they didn't do anything immediately. Hui Yuhao wasn't bothered at all. He had already planned his move. His eye of destiny had already opened, and his soul core was already revolving extremely quickly. He didn't conserve his spiritual power as he unleashed it. Immediately, his spiritual blast was unleashed. A strong spiritual blast was compressed, within a 100 square meter region. The Soul engineers around were all 7-ringed and Class 7 Soul engineers. There were even stronger Soul engineers that had locked onto Hu Yuhao from different directions earlier. However, these Class 7 Soul engineers were not very strong against Hu Yuhao's spiritual blast. This was not to even mention that Hu Yuhao had enhanced his spiritual blast using his Eye of Destiny. At this moment, there was no room for error. Hu Yuhao attacked immediately. Even though his spiritual blast was strong, the red-armored lady in front of him had actually unleashed a spiritual barrier around her. It managed to resist his blast as they collided. Oh, I'm right, she must be the marshal. How could she not be the marshal, given that she's equipped with such an expensive defensive soul tool? However, Hu Yuhao was surprised that her abilities weren't that strong. She was at most a soul sage. He was very confident about this. After understanding the mysteries of soul cores, he had developed a deep understanding of the soul power undulations of title Doloor. Even if she was a title Doloor, he still had to take action. This was his only chance. He instantly unleashed his spiritual shock. A beam of rose gold light, that seemed to come from prehistoric times, flashed before disappearing. Hu Yuhao had already formed his soul core. Along with the enhancement of his Eye of Destiny, he unleashed his strike with all his strength. In terms of power, it had to be the strongest one that he had ever unleashed. It was comparable to the attack of the title Doloor. The rose gold light flashed, and the lady in front of him groaned. A necklace on her neck snapped and fell off, and the spiritual barrier covering her was destroyed. She even fell forward. Hu Yuhao didn't care. He lifted his hand and grabbed hold of her neck. He used his left hand and unleashed his Ice Empress pincer instantly. At the same time, he stomped his right foot on the ground, and his Star Anise Omnithrust was unleashed. As his attacks were all too closely linked, he couldn't care about using any auxiliary-type soul skills. Even so, his Star Anise Omnithrust still covered an area that spanned more than 200 meters in diameter. This was an icy place in the extreme north, the coldest region in the entire world. Here, all ice-type abilities were greatly enhanced. Hu Yuhao's martial soul was ultimate ice. It was evident that his abilities would be greatly strengthened here. Huge ice spikes that were as long as 3 meters, and as thick as water buckets, shot out in all directions. These terrifying spikes tore some of the tents apart. The Soul engineers were sent flying into the sky even though they were protected by protective soul barriers. Some of the Soul engineers, who were slightly weaker, were even stabbed through by the spikes. Hu Yuhao was suddenly free of any Soul engineers around him. Hu Yuhao's left hand was about to grab hold of the lady's neck, but a layer of golden light suddenly appeared on the lady's body. Invincible barrier. At this moment, Hu Yuhao really wanted to curse. The reason why he continued using his spiritual type attack on the enemy was because he hoped to make his enemy lose her awareness, so that she wouldn't be able to use her invincible barrier, or any types of abilities similar to that of an invincible barrier. An invincible barrier could last for more than 10 seconds. How would he stand a chance then? However, Hu Yuhao still had to continue on even though the invincible barrier had been unleashed. He didn't continue attacking the lady, which would be a waste of his soul power. His eyes flashed, and he switched to his spirit eyes. A white halo quickly spread out from his body. Hu Yuhao unleashed his mass enfeeblement under the effect of his soul core. His mass enfeeblement spread in all directions, and large patches of red light started to appear in bursts. This was a fire-type attack, which the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion was most adept at. Hu Yuhao squinted his eyes. He clenched his left hand into a fist, and loud booms started to resonate. Boom, boom, the booms echoed, and the explosions were centered around Hu Yuhao and the lady. They were wildly spreading outward. The fiery red lights were immediately devoured.
他的体型
At
竟
this
不在泰坦
instant,
水无源之
it
下。
seemed as if a terrifying and brutal snowstorm with terrifying explosive
带你
force
离开日
raged.
月帝国，
这难不了
Ice flakes were dancing in the
Okay,
sky, and the intense explosive force was so strong that even a titled Doloor would have to stay away. At the same time, Hu Yuhao's eyes turned deep blue, and a figure silently
岂
surfaced
能容你
behind
这小
him.
小的火鸡撒野？
It was the Snow Empress, who had already
他们毁
recovered
了我的
her
一切。
origin and regained her
他的体
memories.
型竟不
The
在泰
Snow
坦水无源
Empress
之下。
didn't open her
我要
mouth.
报仇！
She drifted silently behind Hu
带你离
Yuhao.
开日月帝国，
这难
She
不了
reached
我！
out her hand and pointed to the sky with one hand,
我
and to the ground with her other hand. The intense explosions weren't even able to get close to Hu Yuhao and the Snow Empress. The ice flakes in the sky
岂能容你这
instantly
小小的
turned
火鸡
into a
撒野？
snowstorm under the Snow Empress control.
他们毁了我的
Hu
一切。
Yuhao switched back to
他的
his
体
Ice
型
Jade
竟不
Empress
在泰坦水
Scorpion.
无源之下。
His 7
我要
soul
报仇。
rings started to shine brightly.
带你
Snowy
离开
dance
日月
of
帝国，
ultimate
这难不
ice.
了我！
With the
Okay, then.
support of the Snow Empress, the strongest version of the snowy dance of ultimate ice was unleashed. At the same time, the star Anna's mysterious ice grass surface from Hu Yuhao's shoulder.
岂能容你这小
Blue
小的火鸡
halos
撒野
quickly？spread. This was the strengthening effect of his ultimate ice.
他的体型
The
竟不
terrifying
在泰
snowy
坦水无源
dance
之
of
下。
ultimate ice instantly raged, and caused everything within a region spanning several thousands of meters to be trapped within
我
it.
可以带你。
Almost the entire military base was caught in this region. Although the Soul Engineers were strong, they could only maintain their linked defensive Soul formation. It was impossible to see what was going on in the domain. Everyone's senses, the Soul tools that were locked onto Hu Yuhao, and all surveillance Soul tools lost their effect in the snowy dance of ultimate
你
ice.
你走，
At this
带你离
moment,
开日月帝
the
国，
lady seemed to have regained her
我可以
awareness.
带你。
She suddenly turned around and looked at Hu Yuhao, who was still imitating the old lady's appearance. When she saw Hu Yuhao's 7 soul rings, she was completely shocked.
岂能容你这小
What
小的
soul
火鸡
ring
撒野
colors？are these? Out of his 7
他
soul
们毁了我的
rings,
一切。
4 don't even belong to the normal scheme of
竟不
colors,
在泰坦水
and
无
the
源之
other
下。
3 are 100,000-year soul rings.
你你走，
Is he really a soul
带你离开
master?
日月帝国。
这难
She
不了
was in a
我！
daze as she looked at Hu Yuhao.
我
Hu Yuhao was about to unleash his full strength at her under the cover of his snowy dance of ultimate ice, but he also went into a daze after seeing her. Suddenly,
岂能容
he
你这小
turned
小的火
completely
鸡撒野？
amazed. Juzi,
他们毁了我的
something
一
seemed
切
to。be stuck in Hu
他的体
Yuhao's
型
throat.
竟不在泰坦水
His
无源之
voice
下。
changed slightly at this instant. He didn't expect that this cunning marshal was actually
这难不
Juzi,
了我！
whom he had not seen in a long time.
我
In her military outfit, Juzi appeared very suave. Her symbolic crystal-clear skin was still as smooth and clear as ever. Her beautiful big eyes were locked onto Hu Yuhao in disbelief. Both of them were just staring at each other
他
just
的
like
体型
this.
竟不在泰
Their
坦水无源之
expressions
下。
were around the same.
我要报仇。
They were both in complete
你
disbelief.
你走，
Who
带你离
are
开日月
you?
帝国。
这难不了我！
Juzi was astonished
Okay, then.
when she heard the other party calling her name. A light projection flashed, and Hu Yuhao removed his imitation. He looked at Juzi and laughed bitterly. Juzi subconsciously lifted her hand to cover her lips. Hu Yuhao hadn't expected the enemy to be her,
他的体
and she
型
also hadn't
竟不在泰
expected
坦
that
水
the
无源之
person
下。
who had caused
我要报
such heavy
仇。
losses to the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion and brought her such a headache today was actually Hu
我可以带
Yuhao.
你。
You, why is it you? How could it be you? Juzi's voice was filled with shock and astonishment. Hu Yuhao laughed bitterly and said, It's me.
岂能容你这
At
小
this
小的火
moment,
鸡撒
the
野？
Snow Empress' cold voice sounded,
他们
Quickly,
毁了我的
take
一
action.
切！
This domain is unable to handle the pressure much longer.
我要报仇！
They'll soon make their way
你
here.
走，
Hu
带你离开
Yuhao's
日月
body
帝国。
shook,
这难不了
and
我！
there was a complicated
Okay,
look on
then.
his face as he looked at Juzi, as her invincible barrier started to become dimmer and dimmer. Juzi also looked at Hu Yuhao with a complicated expression. She sighed,
岂
damn
能容
it.
你这小小的火鸡
She
撒野？
didn't activate her second invincible barrier.
他们毁了我的一切！
She turned around and
他的
hugged
体
Hu
型
Yuhao.
竟不在泰坦水无
Hu
源之下。
Yuhao subconsciously grabbed onto her waist.
你你走，
At this instant,
带你离开
he
日月
felt
帝国。
extremely
这难不了
emotional.
我！
我
He
可以带
did
你。
have some feelings for Juzi. Back then, his relationship with Wang Donga wasn't established yet. In his eyes, Wang Donga was still Wang Dong and a guy. Juzi was probably the first female that he had developed some feelings for. It was just that their identities, backgrounds, and a series of changes that happened after, such as Wang Donga's appearance, caused them to slowly drift apart. Their next few meetings were also very rushed. Hui Yuhao could still clearly remember that Juzi took the risk to send him a letter during the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament in Radiant City. At this moment, even though it was Juzi who was in his embrace, he felt his heart throbbing. Juzi suppressed her inner emotions and said, "I am the marshal of this army. If you hold me as your hostage, they won't dare to do anything to you." Hui Yuhao naturally knew that this wasn't the time for them to catch up on old times. As he placed one hand over her waist, he gently pressed his other hand on her neck. He looked into the sky and shouted, "Stop! Your marshal is in my hands." Seeing that Hui Yuhao had gotten his wish, the Snow Empress glared at him with a weird look on her face. After this, she turned into a beam of flowing light and re-entered his body, and the snowy dance of ultimate ice slowly disappeared. The Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion immediately ceased fire as Hui Yuhao shouted. Following the disappearance of the snowy dance of ultimate ice, red figures started to slowly surface. Hui Yuhao looked very cold and indifferent as he stood there. Right now, he had yet to revert to his original appearance. He continued to use his imitation to mimic the look of that old lady. He stood behind Juzi, and one of his hands was on her waist, while the other was in a stranglehold around her neck. A killer aura spread. Given his spiritual power, it was easy for him to imitate a strong killing aura. After the snowy dance of ultimate ice disappeared, Hui Yuhao finally saw that the sky had been completely engulfed with a red barrier. Every member of the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion had a diamond-shaped soul tool on their chests that shone brightly with red light. Evidently, those were their linked defensive soul tools. It was a linked defense that was unleashed by several hundred advanced tier soul engineers. He couldn't possibly breach such a defense. This was why his earlier strategy was correct, which was to take the marshal hostage. It was the only way out. It was just that Juzi was the marshal. However, no matter what, this act had to continue. Juzi also seemed very willing to play along. Everyone watched Hui Yuhao intently. A fiery red figure rapidly made it to the front and watched him coldly. Wasn't she the Class 9 Soul Engineer that Hui Yuhao had imitated? The two of them stared at each other. The scene was very weird. Hui Yuhao was completely surrounded by the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion. All types of advanced tier cannons were aimed at him. He started to develop numbness and itching as a multitude of soul tools locked onto him. Once an order was given, Hui Yuhao would be instantly torn to pieces when so many powerful soul tools fired at him. However, Hui Yuhao wasn't anxious at all. He even appeared extremely calm. "Let go of our Legion, Commander." The old lady on the opposite side said coldly. This old lady was the original Legion commander of the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion. Ever since Juzi came, she was demoted to the position of Vice Legion Commander. Her abilities were even greater than Wang Yihan's, and she was one of the oldest Class 9 Soul Engineers in the Sun Moon Empire. She was a rank 94 title Doluor, known as the Fire Phoenix Doluor. It was a pity that her martial soul wasn't a Fire Phoenix, but a Fire Phoenix sword instead. The Fire Phoenix Doluor was once a very notable name in the Sun Moon Empire. She was as reputable as the Star Sky Doluor, Yi Yulin. When Juzi first took charge of the Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion, this Fire Phoenix Doluor wasn't very convinced. How could she possibly submit to such a young lady? However, Juzi was the empress, and she turned around, even pleaded for her to continue to remain in the Fire Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion. She would be treated the same, and she was even given greater benefits. Apart from her title, she would continue to command the Fire Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion. She was even told that Juzi was the commander in name only. This was why she remained. However, as time passed, Juzi led the legion to countless successes in this war. She commanded the entire army, and managed to overwhelm both the Star Luo and Heavenly Soul empires. The Fire Phoenix Dolor was slowly convinced by her. She was now fully committed to aiding Juzi in managing the Soul Engineer Legion. Apart from admiration for Juzi, she was also starting to like her now. Juzi also called her Granny Norman. For the unmarried Fire Phoenix Dolor, it was her desire to have such a granddaughter. She imparted everything she knew about soul tools to her. This was why she shared a very complicated relationship with Juzi. She was her subordinate, kin and teacher. Seeing that Juzi had been captured, she was very anxious, even though she looked very calm. She didn't suspect Juzi at all. After all, they kept thinking that their target was a title Dolor before they had attacked. Furthermore, they believed that it was likely to be a transcendent Dolor. Otherwise, they wouldn't set such a huge trap. While Juzi had an invincible barrier on her body, it still had a limit. Against a true transcendent Dolor, it couldn't possibly completely resist a serious attack. Stay away. Otherwise, she'll perish with me. Hu Yuhao sounded very forceful. He intentionally changed his voice to sound hoarse and cold. It was difficult to tell his age, or even his gender from his voice. Let go of her. The Fire Phoenix Dolor screamed furiously before taking a step forward. A strong beam of fiery red light subtly surfaced behind her. In fact, even in the Sun Moon Empire, someone who could become a strong soul engineer would also naturally have a pretty strong martial soul. The Fire Phoenix Dolor was a good example of that. Hu Yuhao laughed coldly. If you want her to die, make a move. Otherwise, move away. As he spoke, he pressed his hand harder on Juzi's throat. It was as if he was gripping her throat tightly. Juzi played along with him and groaned in pain as she revealed a painful look on her face. Stop it. The Fire Phoenix Dolor was very anxious. She was almost unable to maintain her calm exterior. Her eyes flashed. She had gone to so much trouble to set up such a trap to capture Hu Yuhao, but it eventually led to her legion commander being taken as a hostage. This person is simply too strong. Not only can he conceal himself and imitate someone else's appearance, but he also possesses great ice-type abilities. Don't tell me he has twin martial souls. Or does he have a strong soul tool with him? The Fire Phoenix Dolor couldn't tell right now, but she clearly knew that she couldn't let him go. If she wanted to capture him again, it would be extremely difficult. However, if she didn't let him go, Juzi would be in danger. Juzi wasn't only the marshal of 3 armies, she was also the empress. If her safety was endangered, no one could possibly handle the responsibility. Hu Yuhao couldn't care about what the Fire Phoenix Dolor thought. He strangled Juzi as he slowly moved forward. He wasn't very quick, but his spiritual power started to spread quickly. When he only had 2 rings, he was able to scare a bunch of soul beasts by imitating the aura of the Ice Empress. After all these years, his abilities in imitation were unparalleled. He seemed to have assimilated with his surroundings as he unleashed a terrifying soul beast aura. The pressing aura that belonged to 100,000-year soul beast immediately caused all the 7-ringed soul engineers to turn pale. Some of them almost fired the soul tools in their hands. Hu Yuhao took one step at a time as he walked towards the Fire Phoenix Dolor. Juzi was completely in his arms. No one would doubt
离开
that
日
a
月帝国
title
是难不
Doluor
了我
had countless ways to
我可以
kill a
带你
person. The fire phoenix Doluor gritted her teeth and roared, "Stand back. Let him leave." A pathway was slowly opened. The fire phoenix
岂
Doluor
能容你
asked,
这小小的伙
"What
计
will
撒
make you
野？
let go of our legion commander?"
他们毁了
Although
我的一
everyone
切，
from the legion had already made way,
竟不
their
在
linked
泰坦水
defensive
无人之下
barrier hadn't
我
moved
要
yet.
报仇，
The fire phoenix Doluor was very
带你离开
experienced.
日月帝国，
是难不了
She
我。
instructed everyone to
Okay.
make way to reduce Hu Yuhao's killing intent, so that she would be able to negotiate with him afterward. Hu Yuhao calmly said, "You don't have the right to negotiate with me.
岂
After
能
I
容你这
leave,
小小的伙
I'll
计撒野？
definitely let go of her." The fire phoenix
他们毁了我的一
Doluor
切。
didn't budge.
他的体现
Swear on your
竟不在
martial
泰坦水
soul
无人之
before
下
I'll。believe you.
我要报仇，
Otherwise, I'd rather perish together if you hurt our legion commander after leaving.
我可以带你，
Hu Yuhao snorted coldly and said, "All right. I swear on my martial soul that I'll let go of this hostage after I leave. Otherwise, my martial soul will be crushed and never be
岂能容
restored."
你这小小的伙计
Is
撒野
this？fine? How would he ever
他
hurt
们毁了我的
Juzi?
一切，
The fire phoenix Doluor had suggested that he should swear, and so he went along with her. Seeing that he agreed so readily, the fire phoenix Doluor furrowed her
我
brow.
可以带你，
After hesitating for a brief moment, she eventually gestured and instructed her subordinates to remove their linked defense. Hu Yuhao slowly left with Juzi.
岂
He
能容你
still
这小小
remained
的伙
very
计撒
wary
野？
at this moment. There were so many soul engineers here.
他的体现
Perhaps the
竟不
enemy
在泰
had
坦水
some
无人
kind
之
of
下。
special soul
我
tool.
要报仇，
He unleashed his spiritual interference domain and caused both his and Juzi's figures to become blurry. This also caused all the soul tools to be unable to lock onto him anymore. Juzi's skin was as smooth as ever. Even though he was only touching her neck
岂
now,
能容你
he
这小
could
小的
still
伙计
feel
撒
how
野？
soft and smooth it was. Juzi didn't make any noise apart from the earlier groan.
竟不在泰坦水
To
无人
those
之
from
下
the。Fire Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion, she had been completely suppressed and wasn't able to
是难
speak
不
at
了
all.
我的。
我可以带你，
Finally, Hu Yuhao broke free from the encirclement. He turned around and faced the Fire Phoenix Doluor, who was following him. He slowly stepped back. Under the effect
岂
of
能
his
容你这小小的
imitation,
伙计
he
撒野
slowly？ melted into the darkness.
他们
You
毁
are
了我的
also
一
very
切，
strong.
他的体现
I hope you
竟
stay
不在泰
true
坦
to
水
your
无人之
words.
下。
我要报仇，
Otherwise, your vow will turn into a curse.
带你离开日
The
月帝
Fire
国，
Phoenix Doluor said
我
coldly.
可以带你，
For a titled Doluor like her, she fully believed in destiny. A vow couldn't be made easily, especially one that was on one's martial soul. This was why a vow was usually the most serious and official form of transaction between many titled Doluor when they negotiated
他的
with
体
one
现
another.
竟不在泰坦
With
水
Hu
无人之下
Yuhao's。vow, she believed that he wouldn't dare to renege on it. Never would she have guessed that Hu Yuhao wasn't a titled Doluor. Hu Yuhao heaved a sigh of relief after melting into the darkness. Although they were stuck in ice and snow, the back of his shirt was completely drenched with sweat.
岂
It
能
was
容你这
simply
小小
too
的伙计撒
dangerous.
野？
If the Legion commander of the Fire Phoenix Soul Engineer Legion hadn't been Juzi,
竟不
he
在泰
wasn't
坦水
sure
无人之下
if。he could have even made it out alive. He could clearly see that Juzi was ready to unleash a second invincible barrier.
我可以带你，
Under that circumstance, he could only attack with all his might. He had to either stop her from unleashing her invincible barrier, or crush the invincible barrier and take her as a hostage before his snowy dance of ultimate ice vanished. As for whether he would succeed, Hu Yuhao didn't have any
竟不在
confidence
泰坦
at
水
all.
无人之下。
Today's situation wasn't any less dangerous than the time when he was surrounded by two evil soul masters
我可以带
and
你，
the evil tyrant Soul Engineer Legion in Sunrise City. Wang Chua was the one who had saved him then. This time, it was Juzi. Fortunately, Juzi's life wouldn't be in danger. He subconsciously let go of
他们毁了我
Juzi's
的一
neck.
切，
He only held her waist
竟
as
不
he
在泰
fled
坦水
far
无人
away.
之下。
我要报
Juzi
仇，
didn't utter a sound at
你
all.
走，
She let Hu Yuhao bring her wherever he wanted.
我可以带你，
Right now, how could she not be emotional? It was only after flying tens of kilometers away, and using his spiritual detection, to scan his surroundings to ensure no one was
岂能容
following
你这
him
小小的
before
虎
Yu
旗
Hao
大爷！
landed. He found a place to
他
stop.
们毁了我的一切。
I'm sorry,
他的体
Juzi.
线竟不在
Hu
泰坦
Yu
雪
Hao
龙原
let
之下
go。of his arms
我要
around
报仇。
Juzi's waist and gently sighed.
带你离开
Juzi
日月
turned
帝国。
around
是拦不了
suddenly
我的。
and forcefully
我可以带你。
embraced him. He was completely in her embrace. Hu Yu Hao was in a daze. The surrounding winds were very chilly. He had unleashed his soul power to protect
岂能容你
himself
这小
and
小的虎旗
Juzi.
大爷！
He wasn't afraid of the cold, but
他
she
们毁了
was.
我的一切。
At this
他
moment,
的体线
he had already
竟不在泰
forgotten
坦雪
that
龙原之
Juzi
下。
was a soul
我
sage.
要报仇。
Juzi stuck close to him.
带你离开
Although
日
they
月
were
帝国。
separated by a layer of armor,
我可以
Hu
带你。
Yu Hao could still the passion from Juzi. You're still alive. That's great. Did you know? I thought you were dead all along. Juzi
岂能
muttered.
容你这小小的虎
Hu
旗
Yu
大
Hao
爷！
chortled and replied, I won't die
他们
so
毁了我的
easily.
一切。
Don't
他
worry,
的体线
I'm doing
竟
well.
不在泰坦雪龙原之下。
Juzi laughed
我要
gently
报
and
仇。
softly said, Did you
你
know?
走，
I've not had
带你离开日月帝
such
国。
blissful
拦不了我。
feelings for a long time.
我可以带你。
You're still alive.
我
Great, I feel very blissful. Hu Yu Hao was in a daze. He hadn't expected her to say something like this to him.
岂能容你
know
这小
how
小的
to
虎旗大爷！
Juzi gently lifted her
他们毁了我
hands
的
and
一切。
relaxed her grip on his
他的
waist.
体线竟
She
不在
took
泰
a
坦雪
step
龙原
back
之下。
and widened the gap
我要报
between
仇
them.。How have you been?
带你离开
Juzi
日月帝
lifted
国。
her
却
head,
拦不了我。
and there was a concerned look on her
Okay.
face.